Stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. If these words have found you right now, it's not by chance. Heaven has chosen to repeat a message that you didn't fully act upon the first time. And when heaven repeats itself, it's never without reason. Something important is unfolding, and this time you are being called not just to listen, but to respond. This is the second call. The first one stirred your heart, but you hesitated. You felt the pull, but fear whispered louder than faith. Now heaven speaks again, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. Everything happening in your life, the patterns, the strange coincidences, the vivid dreams, the signs you keep noticing, none of it is random. It's all heaven's way of saying, I'm still speaking to you. The time for waiting has ended. You were chosen for something extraordinary, and this is the moment to rise. If doubt and fear have distracted you, shake them off, because when God repeats a message, it's not out of frustration, but out of love. It means He still believes in you. The first opportunity may have passed, but this second one is grace knocking before transformation arrives. Right now, the universe is shifting. Paths are opening and closing. Every choice you make from this moment forward will shape the direction of your destiny. Don't ignore this. Don't postpone it again. God is calling your name once more, and this time, He wants an answer. Before we go on, take a moment, show your faith by writing in the comments, I'm hearing the call. That simple act declares to heaven that your heart is ready to awaken. When heaven speaks for the second time, it doesn't always use words. It speaks through silence, through unease, through changes that feel like endings. If lately you've felt disconnected, people drifting away, places losing meaning, familiar things suddenly feeling empty, it's because the second call has already begun within you. The signs come quietly, but with power. You stop craving old conversations. You outgrow circles that once felt like home. Your spirit starts rejecting what no longer aligns with your essence. That's not loneliness, that's divine separation. God is pulling you away from anything that could delay your destiny. You'll start seeing numbers repeat, dreams that feel like messages, moments that seem too perfect to be coincidence. They're not coincidences, they're confirmations. Heaven is whispering, I'm still here. The second call often feels uncomfortable. It shakes your comfort zone, challenges your logic, and sometimes even hurts. But pain is the awakening force, the divine push that moves you toward your purpose. What looks like chaos is actually realignment. The people leaving, the doors closing, the opportunities disappearing, they're not losses, they're preparation. God is clearing space for what's next. So when life feels out of control, remember you are in the middle of the second calling. The more you resist, the louder it becomes. Heaven is insisting. The only question is, will you listen this time? From the beginning of time, God has spoken to His chosen ones, and many didn't hear the first time. Noah, warned before the flood, was mocked until the storm came. Jonas ran from his mission and only found peace when he surrendered inside the belly of the great fish. The people of Israel heard countless warnings through the prophets and still turned away until the desert became their teacher. These aren't just ancient stories. They repeat because human nature hasn't changed. Many hear God's first call and hesitate, waiting for clearer signs. But in His mercy, God repeats not to scold, but to save. That's what's happening right now. Heaven is speaking again to you. This is not about Noah or Jonah. This is your story. The same God who pursued them is reaching for you again, saying, I've spoken before, now is the time to act. How many times has your heart whispered, go, while your mind replied, what if it fails? That hesitation is what keeps divine timing on hold. Not because God abandons you, but because fear paralyzes purpose. We keep waiting for more proof, a safer moment, a clearer sign, yet heaven has already sent 1,000 of them. Faith doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Faith obeys even when it doesn't make sense. Each time you delay, heaven pauses. And when the moment passes, the blessing often moves to someone who dared to say yes. That's not punishment, that's consequence. God doesn't punish, He teaches. Every delay carries a lesson. Obedience is worth more than comfort. Many feel stuck, tired, and spiritually drained, not realizing they've been standing at the same crossroads for years, hearing the first call, sensing the second, but never stepping forward. And heaven is saying again, don't wait any longer. Your blessing isn't in the future, it's in your decision. Every act of faith unlocks something invisible. Fear freezes, obedience moves, and God only needs one step from you to do the rest. When God repeats Himself, it's not anger, it's love. The second call isn't condemnation, it's redemption. It means He still sees in you the light He placed there from the beginning. He knows how long your soul needs to awaken. He knows that sometimes pain must come before understanding, so He speaks again to give you another chance before the cycle closes. Repetition is proof of mercy. While the world judges, God insists. While others give up, He calls your name again. That's why you're here now. You could be anywhere, doing anything else, yet heaven has drawn you to this moment. That's not coincidence, that's compassion. Heaven is reaching out once more because your story isn't over. There is still purpose unfulfilled, still a promise waiting to come to life. And this right now is your second call. In my opinion, this message about the second call feels deeply real and timely. I truly believe that when life starts repeating patterns, when we see the same numbers, face similar challenges, or feel the same restlessness, it's not random. It's heaven trying to get our attention. Sometimes we miss the first call because we're afraid, distracted, or too focused on control. But God, in His mercy, repeats Himself because He doesn't give up on us. To me, this second call isn't just a warning. It's an invitation. It's about alignment, stepping away from what no longer fits and moving toward the purpose we were meant to live. The discomfort, the changes, the losses, they're all part of divine preparation. I see this message as a reminder that hesitation can delay blessings, but obedience activates them. God doesn't repeat Himself out of anger, but out of love. And when He speaks again, it's because He's giving us one more chance to rise, to trust, and to act in faith. The second call feels like a hand reaching through the storm, one you can ignore, or one you can take hold of and let God pull you out of what's been drowning you. That's the nature of divine love, patient, persistent, and full of grace. He speaks again and again until your soul finally understands that no matter how many times you've drifted away, He will always try to bring you back home. There comes a moment when something within you shifts quietly, almost invisibly. It's not loud or dramatic, but you can feel it. The things that once satisfied you suddenly lose their meaning. The old pleasures fade, shallow conversations tire you, and what once seemed so important now feels too small for your soul. That's when heaven calls your name. It's not a voice your ears can hear, it's a vibration your heart recognizes. You realize you've been found, and something long asleep inside you begins to awaken. People around you may not understand. They might think you've changed too much, that you've grown distant or cold. But what's really happening is that your spirit is answering the second call. You're not withdrawing from the world, you're drawing closer to your purpose. And the more awake you become, the clearer you see how much of your life was built around illusions, trying to fit into places that no longer match your soul's frequency. That's when solitude becomes divine separation, not punishment. It's God pulling you out of the noise so He can finally speak without interruption. The awakening of the chosen isn't polished or pretty. It's confusing, raw, and often lonely. But once it begins, there's no turning back. You might try to go back to the old version of yourself, but nothing fits anymore. Because when heaven calls, it doesn't ask for the version you've built, it calls for the original one. the soul that existed before fear, before masks, before wounds. And when that true self awakens, the world reacts. Some people drift away, others draw near, and everything seems to move quickly. But it's not chaos, it's alignment. God is rearranging everything around you, and the first thing He restores is you. There comes a time when the silence of heaven isn't absence, it's waiting. God has already spoken, shown the signs, repeated the message. Now He's waiting for your answer. This is the moment of choice, the point where you must decide whether to stay who you've always been or to finally become who you were called to be. The second call isn't a warning. It's a divine invitation, and every invitation requires a response. Many ask for signs, but when the sign arrives, they freeze. They say they want to hear God's voice, but fear what He might ask in return. They pray for transformation, but resist surrender. That's why so many remain stuck expecting heaven to act, while heaven waits for a single act of faith. God won't make the choice for you. He'll show the path, but the step must come from your will. And when you take that step, something unseen begins to move. Locked doors open, resistance fades, and the purpose that once felt far away starts unfolding right in front of you. But if you keep delaying, spiritual time passes. Opportunities don't wait for hesitation, and in His love and justice, God will raise others who are willing to say yes where many stayed silent. So ask yourself, how long will you make God wait for your answer? Because the truth is simple, heaven has already spoken. The plan is ready, but it begins only when you say, I'm ready. And maybe, just maybe, this is the last time He asks with such clarity. There's something more dangerous than taking the wrong path. It's standing still in the middle of it. When God calls and you pretend not to hear, something inside you starts to fade. Not your body, but your spirit. The eyes lose their light. The voice loses its strength because deep down, the soul knows when it's going against its own purpose. Ignoring the call isn't just disobedience, it's denying who you were born to be. And as time goes on, the emptiness grows. You can try to fill it with distractions, people, success, but nothing lasts because nothing earthly can satisfy a soul designed for the divine. Heaven doesn't punish hesitation, but life itself reveals what happens when you choose silence. Doors that once opened begin to close, opportunities fade, and the flow of life slows down. That's not bad luck, it's disconnection. God won't force you to listen, but sometimes He quiets everything else just so you'll notice how much His silence hurts. And it's often in that emptiness that the heart finally understands what it's lost. Many confuse that season for punishment, but it's not, it's disguised mercy. God allows the desert so the echo of His call can still be heard. If you're in that season of stillness, loneliness, or exhaustion, it's not the end. It's heaven's final reminder, I'm still here and I'm still waiting for you. God never gives up on those He calls by name. But there comes a moment when the spiritual clock strikes now or never. What you choose next will determine what heaven does next for you. And then the moment arrives, that sacred instant when the heart finally understands what the mind has resisted. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. The second call didn't come to frighten you, but to position you. And when you say yes, the entire universe realigns. Closed doors open, lost paths are illuminated, and everything starts to make sense again. Because the yes of a chosen soul carries power. It's the sound that moves heaven, the echo that awakens angels, the spark that sets destiny in motion. When you answer the call, the weight lifts, guilt dissolves, fear loses its grip. Something ancient and strong within you awakens a force that has been waiting all along. Life doesn't suddenly become easy, but it becomes divinely guided. The battles remain, but now they have purpose. Even the winds you face begin to work in your favor. What once was only faith becomes reality. promises start to unfold, the right people appear, opportunities arise, and signs multiply. Not because life got simpler, but because you stepped into divine timing. Heaven never needed your perfection, only your yes. And once you say it, nothing is ever the same. Those who answer the second call never fall back into spiritual sleep. Your soul ignites, your voice gains strength, and your very presence carries a light the world recognizes, even if it can't explain it. You're living proof that God still speaks, still pursues, and always fulfills. Everything He promised is beginning now. Declare it with faith. I said yes to my calling. And as you speak it, feel heaven move, because in that very moment, your yes has been heard. From my spiritual perspective, this message feels like more than just words. It's a divine mirror reflecting the moment when the soul begins to remember who it truly is. I see the second call as a sacred awakening, a moment when God reaches out once more to those who were never lost, only asleep. It reminds me that divine love is not impatient or conditional. It's persistent and merciful. To me, this calling represents the transition between simply existing and truly living with purpose. It's about realizing that silence isn't God's absence, it's His invitation for us to finally listen. The storms, the solitude, the restlessness, they are all part of His way of removing distractions so we can hear Him clearly. Spiritually, I believe this second call is the most intimate proof of grace. It's God saying, I still choose you, even after all the hesitation and fear. And once we say yes, everything aligns, not because life becomes perfect, but because it becomes sacred. In my heart, I know that answering the call means stepping into divine partnership, where every breath, every trial, every moment becomes part of a greater plan. That's the beauty of it. Heaven never stops calling, but transformation begins the moment we finally answer.